Okay, so I've actually done one of these before. So, welcome to Four Gates Lecture Series. Tonight's topic is spirit work as a form of power exchange. Um, I am literally going to cut just this section and I'm going to throw it up on YouTube. I'm not doing no editing, no nothing, because as I pointed out forever ago, doing something is better than doing nothing. And I have no editing skills, but I can talk. So, I don't think it's any secret to people that have been around for a while that I consider myself a kinky guy. Right. And it's funny, that kind of stuff lends itself to understanding things in ways that don't always draw a direct parallel to that. Like when we look at this, you see two types you see two types of spirit interactions. You see the interactions where somebody is worshipful and bending a knee to a spirit, and that's a very submissive mindset, right? And you see the types of interactions with spirit where people are, commanding spirits. In the modern age, you think demonic work. But even as far as like ancient Mesopotamia, you have this idea of badgering the spirits. Is it St. Joseph that you bury upside down until you get your house sold? Like, like there are all sorts of these ideas of being more dominant with spirits as well. Right. But the primary form we engage with spirits with is in a submissive mindset. Right. Now, first things first, I said it earlier um, in relation to one of the readings I gave. I said it earlier on stream. I think it's important for the person holding power in a power exchange relationship. Their first responsibility becomes the person without the power in the relationship. So if you're in this kind of devotional relationship with a spirit, and that spirit is not already working with you, trying to build you up, looking out for you, then maybe, hot take, that spirit is not, if they're demanding without offering protection and whatever in return, then maybe they're not living up to their part of that arrangement. Right. Would you put up with it in a physical partner? If the behavior is not dominant but abusive in a physical partner, then why is it any different with a spirit partner? Right. And I do think that spirits get something out of their relationship with us. Right. It's when we think of like ambrosia from the Greek idea, this is what made the gods immortal. This is what kept them alive. It says it made them immortal, but what's implied is that if they don't have it regularly, they die. Right. And ancient Greek writers did turn around and effectively say that ambrosia was manufactured from our attention. Right, so the spirits get something out of us. Now, is that legitimately, accurately true? I have no idea. But we all know that the spirits like our attention. So, first things first, when you decide to really truly negotiate with a spirit, like often we approach in a very submissive mindset. We bring our offerings, we bring our devotion, we bring this, that, and the other, and that's great. When we need something, to make that request within that kind of dynamic that's set up. But I think there is a time and a place, regardless of dynamic, to remove as much of that dynamic as possible and approach the spirit on something akin to equal footing. And I mean this for your more left hand path things too. You may command a demon to show up, you know, you may badger a spirit into something, but at some point you gotta drop all that control and talk to the spirit, or why would you get anything that you're looking for? Right? So I'm going to invite our illustrious Gabriella over here because I have
how illustrious I am.
I have very little experience in negotiating relationships from a more submissive mindset. I tend to be more dominant. Um, so you are actually going to show up on stream now?
Hello.
There. So I guess the first thing that I would ask you is, so you're obviously in a relationship with a level of power exchange.
Yes.
So from your end of it, when you need something, you know, how do you establish stepping out of that exchange um, in order to bring that up?
I think a lot of my life has been me being in a position where I don't have control over what happens to me or my surroundings. And that stemmed from early childhood. So I was never much able to ask for what I needed or, you know, say that I would like something a certain way. Um, and then growing up into adulthood, um, I've learned different ways of phrasing, I guess I would say. Um, I know that I have family members who grew up and their mom would be like, "Oh, it's hot in here." And their dad would go and turn the air conditioner on.
Right.
And that's all that one needed to do. And I have friends who are like, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna get a soda." And then the mom's like, "You can't have a soda, it's late at night, you know?"
So, so two things that I would add.
Mm.
So we have some level of check-in set up between us that is
Yes.
outside of the dynamic.
Yes.
I guess so. If you needed to, if you needed to have that kind of discussion, it's never come up because I do them probably more often than I need to. I'd
Yes.
rather do them more often than I need to than not enough.
Right.
However, if you ever felt the need to just if you ever felt the need to trigger one of those, how would you go about it? We haven't done it yet.
Hmm. So, in our particular relationship, I feel very comfortable coming to you for anything that I may need. And um, you're actually teaching me to be more independent, I would say.
I'm
And
trying. Also, that's the only thing we gotta remember is I gotta actually stay in the camera.
yeah.
Whatever. Um, but we have, and it's underplayed given how much of how much of a practitioner we both are. Like we underplay the ritual of it, but I do announce, okay, so let's do a check-in,
Yeah,
right?
we'd have those once a week.
So I think that's something that we can learn from that applies to this kind of working with spirit would be that I have a phrasing and a word and effectively a ritual that sets us up to be on that more equal footing.
Mm.
So I think that this is something that you can design into a relationship with any spirit. And I'm going to tell you, if a spirit throws a fit over that, if you have a divination tool, for example, that you use to talk to a spirit, that you only get out when you want to talk from that position of more equality, and you start getting nasty results, or you start getting a spirit, you throw the cards or whatever, and you realize these cards mean nothing. They're ignoring me, right? And that does happen. But if they refuse to play along with that equal footing, I'm going to tell you, to me, that's a red flag. And it doesn't matter who the spirit is. That's a red flag that they're not following the procedures that help you as the person in a more submissive mindset in the relationship to be safe. And I think that there are a lot of spirits that are currently having moments, and I'm not going to name any, right? But I think that as a spirit kind of has a moment of like pop culture awareness where they're suddenly popular where they weren't before, a lot of them can get very full of themselves, right? We all know new dominance. We all know how that can be. And I think they get full of themselves in the same way. And while they have anybody they want, because they're having a moment, it's very easy for them to turn around and walk away. Well, fuck it. I don't need to work with her then. I dropped a gender of the spirit in the back of my head. Never you mind that. It don't matter. I don't need to work with her if she's not going to take the safety of her devotees properly. Seriously. Yeah. So if a spirit won't meet you on that common ground, then that's a red flag.
Can I interject something? Okay.
That's why you're here.
So, the couple of examples I had said earlier. So that's a history of the relationship that a person has with another. Like my family members, oh, it's hot in here, and the other one just turns on the air conditioner, and yeah, that's a partner thing. You know how your partner was. The other example was, a mother-son example. So it's just consider the relationship you have. And at work, I recently had to talk to my manager about a coworker.
Great example of a human on human relationship with an inherent power dynamic.
Yes. So this manager was sitting in the manager's office doing some work on the computer. And I came in and I said, "Hi, I need the open door policy." And so the
And then
manager,
they immediately proceeded to ask you if you wanted to close the door.
yes.
Which I always find it amusing that they call it an open door policy, and the first question they always ask you is, do we need to close the door?
Well, they want the conversation private from anybody else.
I know why.
I was
It's just amusing.
potentially having a problem with. I know it is. It's hilarious. But so that's an example of a boss and a employee
Right. Again,
situation.
that more neutral space
Mm-hmm.
is ritualized, and if there isn't a ritual for it,
Yep.
make one.
And
With my boss, We don't have a direct open door policy. Like I can go to HR, but with my boss, I don't have a direct open door policy. And at the manufacturing job, like I had to look at my boss and I said, okay, can I speak freely? And he gives me a look and he says, yes. And I looked at him and I said, it's starting to get hot out. Some of these motherfuckers stink. You got to get them to shower.
Yeah.
The HR put out a nice reminder about hygiene as it approaches the warmer summer months.
Yeah.
Like 2 days later. But, like, I would have never dared to approach my boss. He's a cool guy. But I probably wouldn't have approached him with that level of attitude if I hadn't have leveled the playing field first.
Yes.
You know, if I hadn't have made that a ritual, I probably wouldn't have said it that way.
So in my three examples, the first one was like equal peers. The second one was a dominant telling the submissive what needed to happen. The third one was a submissive asking the dominant about, something that they needed to bring to the attention. And when we have our check-ins, we have a codified phrase. Hats off.
Mm-hmm.
So, so in many different ways, I wear different hats. Like I wear the child hat to my parents. I wear the coworker hat to my coworkers. I wear the employee hat to the boss. I wear different social hats among different social groups. And yeah.
So, um, as somebody who does some level of ritual, like when I engage with a spirit that I normally find myself in a more submissive framework with, um, I've always considered hats to be a symbol of like power, right? So normally I will leave a hat off when I engage with those spirits. If I need to have that moment with them where I'm laying something out, the hat goes on. You know, and to me, that puts me on that more equal footing. And I think it also acts as a symbol in that other direction as well. But I think it's important to not, in general, like identify what you actually want your relationship with a spirit to be like. You're not going to get equal. I don't think it works that way. So, do you actually want to be submissive to a certain spirit, or do you want to lean into the fact that they need you for something? Like, both ways work, and you see some level of like flipping a spirit upside down until he sells your house because you have something he needs. You know, you see that level of being more dominant towards a spirit that I think people often don't even consider as an option. But anyway, I got 2 more readings to do tonight. I have probably taken up enough time with this. All things considered, I literally came together with a half-baked idea, as much to test the format as anything. All in all, I like it. I'm going to get some more notes around, and we'll do it again.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let me hit a couple of buttons, and then we'll get a
Yes.
reading going.